So, good day everyone. I am Karil Jane Condes. So, in this video, I will be discussing how the CPU works, the evolution of CPU processing, power from part 1 to part 4, an overview of the GPU and the operations and programming of SAP1. So these are the topics, or these topics are important because they help us understand how computers work internally and how different components work together to perform tasks. So as students, we often use computers every day for school, communication, and entertainment. However, we usually do not think about what happens inside the computer when we click, type, or open the applications. So in this video aims to explain those processes in a simple and clear way based on the provided videos and CPU evolution. So first, how the CPU works. So the CPU, or Central Processing Unit, is known as the brain of the computer because it controls and processes all instructions. So everything that happens inside the computer goes through the CPU. So when we open a program, save a file, browse the internet, or watch a video, the CPU is involved in making sure these actions are done correctly and in the proper order. So inside the CPU, there are important parts that perform different roles. The control unit is responsible for directing the flow of data and instructions. It decides which instruction should be executed next and send signals to other components. The arithmetic logic unit, or ALU, is the part of the CPU that performs calculations. So this includes simple math operations like addition and subtraction, as well as logical operations such as comparing values. So the CPU also contains registers, which are very small and fast memory areas used to temporarily store data and instructions that are currently being processed. So the CPU works using a cycle called fetch, decode, and execute. So first, the CPU fetches an instruction from the main memory. This instruction is part of a program that tells the CPU what to do next, or what to do. Next, the instruction is decoded, so the CPU understands what operation is required. So after decoding, the instruction is executed and the result is stored or displayed. So this cycle happens continuously and very fast, allowing the computer to perform many tasks smoothly. So for example, when you open a word processor and type a letter, the CPU fetches the instruction related to keyboard input and decodes it and execute it so the letter appears on the screen. Even though this seems simple to us, many instructions are processed behind the scenes in a very short time. So for the evolution of CPU, part 1, so the mechanics of a CPU. So in part 1 of the video, the discussion focuses on the early mechanics of CPUs. So in the early days, computers were very large machines that occupied entire rooms. So one example is the ENIAC, or ENIAC, which use thousands of vacuum tubes and consumed a lot of electricity. So these computers were very slow by today's standards and could only perform a limited number of operations. So as technology progressed, transistors replaced vacuum tubes, making computers smaller and more reliable. So this led to the development of microprocessors, where all the essential CPU components were placed on a single chip. So one of the earliest microprocessor was the Intel 4004. Although it was very simple and slow compared to the modern CPUs, it was a major advancement at that time. So early CPUs could only process one instruction at a time and had very limited memory. Programs were also very basic and often written in machine language. Despite this limitation, early CPUs introduced the basic structure of modern processors, such as instruction processing and data handling. So, for the rise of the x86 architecture, so part 2 explain the rise of the x86 architecture, which played a major role in the development of personal computers. So the x86 architecture began with Intel processors like the 8086 and 8088. So this processor became widely used because they offered better performance and flexibility compared to earlier designs. So one important feature of these processors is backward compatibility. So this means that software written for older processors can still run on newer ones. So this feature made x86 very popular because users did not need a rewrite their programs every time new hardware was released. So the x86 architecture uses a complex instruction set, which allows a single instruction to perform multiple operations. So this made programming easier and more efficient during that time because of its compatibility and performance. x86 became the standard architecture for many computer and is still widely used today. So for part 3, the origin of modern operating system. So this focuses on how the evolution of CPUs led to the development of modern operating system. As CPUs became more powerful, they were able to support advanced features required by operating systems. So this allowed computers to run multiple programs at the same time. So modern operating systems like Windows, Linux, um, and Unix rely on CPU features such as multitasking, memory management, and process scheduling. So multitasking allows the CPU to switch between programs quickly, giving the appearance that multiple applications are running at the same time. So memory management ensures that each program has its own space in memory, preventing crashes and data corruption. Another important development is the separation between user mode and uh, kernel mode. So user mode is where normal application run, while kernel mode is reserved for the operating system. This system helps uh, this system helps protect the system. This separation helps protect the system from errors and security threats. So these CPU features made modern operating systems stable and reliable. So for the part 4, the 32-bit processors, pipeline, and cache. So this the part 4 discussed the development of the 32-bit processors and performance improvement. As CPUs evolve, engineers focus on increasing efficiency rather than just increasing clock speed. So one important improving is pipelining. So pipelining allows the CPU to process multiple instructions at different stage at the same time. So this is similar to an assembly line where different tasks are performed simultaneously. This greatly increases performance. So cache memory is another key improvement. So cache memory is a small and fast memory located close to the CPU. So it stores frequently used data and instructions, reducing the time needed to access main memory. So cache memory has different levels, with L1 being the fastest and closest to the CPU. So this improvement made CPUs faster and more efficient, leading to the powerful processors we use today. So for the overview of GPU, so the GPU or graphics processing unit is designed to handle graphics and visual data. Unlike the CPU, which is designed for general purpose tasks, the GPU is designed for parallel processing. So this means it can handle many calculations at the same time. So GPUs are commonly used in gaming, video editing, and rendering images. They are also widely used in artificial intelligence and machine learning because they can process large amounts of data efficiently. While the CPU handles tasks one by one, the GPU handles many tasks simultaneously, making it ideal for graphics and heavy computations. So for the SAP1 operation, so SAP1 stands for simple as possible one. So it is a very basic computer model that is mainly used in studying how a CPU works. So even though SAP1 is simple, it shows the most important parts of the processes found in real computers. So the purpose of SAP1 is not to be fast or powerful, but to help students clearly understand how instructions are processed inside a computer. So the SAP1 system is made up of several important components. So this includes the program counter, memory unit, instruction register, accumulator, arithmetic logic, or ALU, control unit, and the output register. So each part has a specific job, and all of them work together to complete one instruction at a time. So by separating the task of each component, SAP1 shows how a CPU organizes its work in a step-by-step manner. So when the CPU starts working, SAP1 follows the fetch, decode, and execute cycle. So during the fetch stage, the instruction stored in memory is fetched and placed into the instruction register. In the decode stage, the control unit analyzes the instruction and determines what action needs to be performed. In the execute stage, the instruction is carried out, which may involve the ALU performing a calculation or data being moved to a register. So even though SAP1 is a very even though SAP1 is very simple compared to modern CPUs, it still follows the same basic principles. So modern processors also rely on registers, memory, control units, and instruction cycles. So studying SAP1 operation helps the students understands how real CPUs manage instruction and data in an organized and efficient way. So for SAP1 programming, programming the SAP1 computer is done using machine level instructions. So this means that the programmer directly writes instructions that the hardware can understand, and each SAP1 instruction is composed of two main parts, the opcode and the operand. So the opcode tells the computer what operations to perform, while the operand provides additional information such as um, a memory address or data value. So in SAP1 programming, instructions are stored in memory in a specific sequence. So the program counter ensures that these instructions are executed in the correct order. For example, a program may begin by loading a value from memory into the accumulator. After that, another value can be loaded and added to the first value. Then the final result can then be sent to the output register for display. So learning how to program SAP1 provides a strong foundation in computer architecture and low-level programming. So it helps students appreciate how modern programming languages and operating systems are built on top of um, basic machine instructions. By understanding SAP1 programming, students gain a deeper knowledge of how computers execute programs at the hardware level. So, in conclusion, this discussion helped explain the basic concepts of how computers work, starting from the CPU and its internal processes up to the development of more advanced processors over time. So by understanding how the CPU performs the fetch, decode, and execute cycle, it becomes clearer how instructions are processed step by step. Even though modern computers are very fast and complex, they still follow the same basic principles discussed in this topic. So the evolution of the CPU showed how processors improved from simple designs to more advanced architectures. From early processors that could only handle basic instructions, CPUs eventually became powerful enough to support multitasking, operating systems, and modern applications. So features such as pipelining, caching, and 32-bit processing help increase speed and efficiency. So these improvements allowed computers to become more reliable and capable of handling complex tasks. So the overview of the GPU also showed how different processors are designed for specific purposes, while the CPU focuses on general tasks and control operations, and the GPU is built to handle many calculations at the same time. So this makes GPUs very useful for graphics rendering, gaming, video processing, and artificial intelligence. So understanding the difference between CPU and GPU helps explain why modern systems use both to achieve better performance. So the discussion of SAP1 operation and programming provided a clear and simple view of how a computer works internally. Even though SAP1 is only a basic model, it demonstrates the most important components of a CPU and how they work together. So programming SAP 1 using machine level instructions helps show how software directly controls hardware operation. So overall, learning these topics provides a strong foundation in computer engineering and computer architecture. By studying simple systems like SAP1 and understanding the evolution of CPUs and GPUs, students gain a better appreciation of how modern computers are designed and how they operate. So this knowledge is important for future studies in microprocessors, embedded system, and computer technology. So that's all. Thank you for watching.